Good morning, Year 2. It's Friday and our last reading lesson of the week. Let's find out what we're going to do today. So our question is, how do brilliant readers answer questions on the text and use inference? We're going to start with a 60-second challenge. We're going to then recap the text, Knuffle Bunny, and we're going to answer some questions on it. We're going to end today by looking at further reading possibilities. Books all about lost toys that you might enjoy. We're going to check that you've got everything you need now. So, have you got a pencil? Have you got some paper? And is your brain ready to go? If you need to get any of these things, put me on pause now. Let's start today's lesson. We're going to begin with a 60-second challenge. Can you see the illustration of Trixie in the middle? She was our main character from the story. We're going to be thinking about how she felt at different points through the story. Have a think now in your head about how she felt at the start of the story when she was leaving the house with Dad. She was going on an errand to do a chore, wasn't she? And she had a huge smile, so she was happy and excited. And when she got to the laundromat, she got to put the money in the machine. She was joyful, elated even, at doing this job. But on the way home, she realised that Knuffle Bunny was still in the laundromat, in the washing machine. How did she feel then? As she tried to tell her dad, she became very frustrated, didn't she? He would not take her back because he couldn't understand what she was saying. He couldn't understand what she meant. So she screamed and screamed. She was very angry. All the way home until Mum realised what had happened and they had to run all the way back to the laundromat. I expect they felt very worried, don't you? Luckily, Dad found Knuffle Bunny at the back of the washing machine and all was well again. So in the story, Trixie had lots of different emotions and feelings. And our challenge today is to see how many feelings you can name. Now, I've suggested that you give yourself 1 minute to list as many feelings as you can in your book. You may like to give yourselves a bit longer. The choice is yours. So put me on pause now and set yourself your 60-second challenge, or a little bit longer if you want it to be. Good luck, everybody. How did you do? Would you like to see some of my answers? As you can see from the pictures from the book, Trixie had lots of different feelings throughout the story. As we discussed before, she was happy and content and cheerful, even jolly at the start of the book. She had a huge smile on her face, didn't she? And she was very excited to put the money in the washing machine at the laundromat. But her feelings started to change when she realised that Knuffle Bunny was gone. And the words I chose to describe this were panicked, frustrated, and exasperated. She couldn't get what she wanted to say over to Dad. She's only a baby, so can't talk. She became increasingly upset and unhappy. And when she was really screaming and bawling her eyes out, really crying, she was clearly distressed and sad. I wonder if you had any of those words too. And by the time they realised and they got all the way back to the laundromat and Dad couldn't find it, poor Trixie was worried and anxious and definitely sad still. Luckily, he found it. And at the end of the story, she felt thankful, grateful, and pleased. Did you have any of the same words as I did? If you want to magpie some of my words and write them down in your list, that would be brilliant. Pick your favourite 3. Put me on pause now to do this. Well done. Now you may have noticed that some of these words have a very similar meaning, and these are called synonyms. Do you remember that from last time? Well done. Let's move on with today's lesson. Can you remember what happened in the story? We've already done a little recap. Now we're going to watch a short video, hopefully, about what happens. This is called an animation, and it brings the story to life. I'm just going to make it nice and big on the screen so you can see it. I hope you enjoyed that animation. Now we're going to return back to our slides to have a look at what we're going to do next. So, I'm going to do it again. Let's move on. If you want to pause the video, you can read the story yourself. Let me just move myself down to the bottom. Oh, we knew it was going to start again, didn't we? Let's put this on pause. And back to this one. Okay. So if you would like to put this one on pause, you can read the story for yourself. If you don't need to read the story again and you know what happened, we'll begin our retrieval and inference questions now. So let's remind ourselves about what retrieval is. Now, when we do retrieval, we are looking for the answers in the text. We're able to pick out the information to answer a given question. We'll see it, we can even put our finger on it normally. This is different to inference, as we discussed last week. Inference is when we use clues from the text and things that we already know in our head, and we read between the lines to make our own best guesses or judgments. We're going to have a mix of these questions today. So let's begin our questions. You'll see that some questions are one chili, and these tend to be the retrieval questions. Our two chili ones are the inference. I'm going to read them out to you, and you can put me on pause at any point to answer them. If you want to write the answers down in your book, that's fine, but you don't have to. First question, who are the main characters in the story? I'm going to pause now so you can think about it. That's right. There are four main characters: Mum, Dad, Trixie, and Knuffle Bunny. How old do you think Trixie was, and why? Now, this isn't stated in the text, but we can use some clues to help us work it out. Reread this first page and see if you can spot any. It says, not so long ago, before she could even speak words, Trixie went on an errand with her daddy. Now I'm using my knowledge of children to think back to when children, or babies even, can't speak. She is walking, we can see, but not using proper words. So she must be around 1, is my best guess. I've used the information that's there and worked it out. So if I was answering that question, I would say, how old do you think Trixie was? I think she was 1 year old. Why? I think this because in the text, it says that she couldn't even speak words. Let's look at our next question now. What did Trixie do in the laundromat? Put me on pause if you want to think about it, or if you want to write your answer. Have you worked it out? Yes, this is a retrieval question. We can have a look at the illustrations and the sentences to work out what she did. So first of all, she helped her daddy put the washing into the machine. I'm not sure if she was much of a help though. And she put the money into the machine. So there are 2 things she did in the laundromat. If you put she had fun playing with the clothes, that's fine too, because that's using the illustrations. Let's move on to our next question now. How did Trixie and her daddy feel here? Let's have a look at the illustration and let's read the sentence. She did everything she could to show how unhappy she was. By the time they got home, her daddy was unhappy too. How did they both feel? Can you put your finger on a word that shows us? Well done. They both felt unhappy. And that was a retrieval question because we could find the answer in the text. Inference now. Why did Trixie have no choice but to get fussy? First of all, we have to work out what get fussy means. What do you think it means? Getting fussy might be playing up a little bit, not wanting to do things, making a lot of noise. Now, our question is, why did she have to do that? Why was she making lots of noise? Was she dragging her heels? Was she pointing and wanting to go back to the laundromat? Well, we know that Knuffle Bunny was there. We also know that she can't speak properly yet. She can't use her words to explain that Knuffle Bunny is still in the washing machine. So she has no choice but to go wah to get his attention. He couldn't understand her, and this was the only way of expressing herself. If you would like to write an answer down now, please put me on pause. If you'd like to carry on the video, keep listening. This is our next question. What in the story tells you that Knuffle Bunny was very important to Trixie? What in the story tells you that Knuffle Bunny was very important to Trixie? You're going to need to think about the whole story now, not just the end. Put me on pause so you can think about your answer to this question. Have you got an answer? I wonder what it was. I think there were several points in the text that show us that Knuffle Bunny was very important to Trixie. Now, you may have thought that the fact she took her out on a walk with her shows that Knuffle Bunny was very important because she wants to keep Knuffle Bunny with her. The fact that she made such a fuss when Knuffle Bunny was left behind is another indication that Knuffle Bunny was very important to Trixie. And finally, the reaction at the end of the story shows us that Knuffle Bunny was very important because she was so excited to get her back, and even better than that, she said the word Knuffle Bunny. They were her first words. So clearly Knuffle Bunny is a very important toy to Trixie. Well done if you got any of those parts of the answer. We're going to move on now to our free chili challenge today. I have got 4 statements written down. I want you to have a think about the story and then read the statements. I would like you to rank them in order of the ones you agree with most, and then all the way down to least. You might want to use these sentence starters to help you think about them. You can see them on the right-hand side of the screen. I most agree with, because in the text it says, so we're looking for some evidence today. And I least agree with, because it says in the text. Let's read the statements. Trixie loves Knuffle Bunny. Trixie is a well-behaved baby. It was Trixie's dad's fault that Knuffle Bunny got lost. Trixie's dad listens carefully to Trixie. So those are the 4 statements. I want you to think, which one do you agree with most? And that will be your number 1. Which is most true? And which is least true? Now, when you rank them, there isn't a right or wrong answer. As long as you can justify it with evidence from the text, you would get a big pink tick. Put me on pause now and complete the task. How did you do, everybody? I wonder what you wrote down. As I said before, there isn't a right or a wrong answer, as long as you can justify your opinion with evidence from the text. If I was doing it, I most agree with Trixie loves Knuffle Bunny because we have seen so much evidence in the text that Knuffle Bunny was important to her and she didn't want to leave her behind. I would say it's quite tricky, but the one I agree least with is maybe Trixie's dad listens carefully to Trixie. Now, he does listen to her, but he doesn't understand her. He's not reading those clues, even when she's pointing and shaking her arms and causing a fuss. He doesn't understand. So he is trying to listen, but he can't understand what she wants him to do. So maybe I'd have that one at the bottom. But equally, maybe Trixie is a well-behaved baby could go at the bottom, because you might think, oh, she's made a fuss. So maybe that's the one you agree least with. Or it was Trixie's dad's fault that Knuffle Bunny got lost. Maybe you don't think it was his fault. Did he put it into the washing machine? Well, it looked like it, but should Trixie have left it there? Like I say, there is no right order. As long as you can explain to someone at home or you've written it in your book why, then you've done a really super job today. We're going to end today by just having a look at some different titles of books about lost toys. You can have a look on YouTube for different people reading them if you fancy listening to a story. So we've got Dogger by Shirley Hughes, Nothing by Mick Inkpen, The Paper Dolls by Julia Donaldson and Rebecca Cobb, and Tatty Ratty by Helen Cooper. If you want an extra job to do today, then you can compare them to Knuffle Bunny, thinking about what is similar and what is different. Think about the setting, the characters, the plot, beginnings, endings, language, illustrations and colour. I hope you enjoy some of these stories, even if you just sit back and listen to them, as they're all fantastic. This is the end of our lesson today. Thank you very much for joining me for our reading, and I'll see you again next week. Take care, everybody.